Hello there.
Hello.
You good people, friends, lovers, thank you for joining us. Wow, should have cleared my throat before we start. It's Sunday. It is the first Sunday in February. 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
I was going to let you finish the sentence, but that's okay. 5 minutes with Robert and Amy, Nasir, and you, Nasir. Well, okay, just and you. And thank you for joining us. We are glad you are here on this fine Sunday, February 4th, 2024, the 35th day of this, your best year yet. I hope you are making 2024 amazing. This leap year, it's got that extra day of juicy goodness in it. It's going to be good. After today, 331 days are left to make this your best year yet. 325 days until Christmas. Why are we talking about Christmas? Oh, wait, 270 days until Halloween. Why are we talking about Halloween? No, 56 days until Easter. Now it's getting closer.
Well, it's 10 days until second Halloween, a.k.a. Valentine's Day.
Well, for some people who will not be named, or maybe they will, every holiday is just Valentine's Day. It's a Christmas version of Valentine's Day. It's a of Halloween. It's a Valentine's version of Halloween. But seriously, folks, on this date, February 4th, it's the launch of Facebook. Folks, this is the day when Mark Zuckerberg made it all happen for all of us good people. Now, I know you all love Facebook. I know you all admire and respect everything that Mark Z has done for all of us good people, right? Mm-hmm. Right. I'm sure. Tell me about it in the chat. Oh, I don't see the chat. There we go. The chat on Facebook, because we do simulcast. I know most of you watch on YouTube, but we simulcast to Facebook, and a few of our favorite regulars are there. So I've got the chat up there. Got the chat. Oh, it looks like YouTube. YouTube is winning the chat race so far. You've got a few more comments there, but bring it on. Talk back to us, and I've got a couple questions I need to ask you. This is the date. Facebook. Can you believe Facebook launched in 2004? 2004. It seems like it would have been like way before. Wasn't 2004 like just a few years ago?
That was right after MySpace.
And LiveJournal and all of those predecessors that tried so hard to remain the web log, the blog platform.
Bulletin boards,
BBSs, bulletin board system. Yeah. Facebook set itself apart from early social platforms with its initial exclusivity and its emphasis on, I love this analysis by some geek here, not even some geek, some social studies PhD who said, its emphasis on gamifying social relationships through likes, comments, shares, and friend counts. Helped along by a newsfeed updating users on the lives of their friends and acquaintances. From a cultural standpoint, says Pablo Boczkowski, a professor at the Department of Communication Studies at Northwestern University, who studies digital culture. From a cultural standpoint, there has been a very clear trend toward the gamification of social relations. Gamification of social. I know people.
That obviously means pickleball, right?
Yeah. No, I know people who talk this way. I know people who think everything is gamesmanship. Everything is surface.
Well,
everything is tallied. Everything is about what we used to call face, how it looks. Nowadays they call it optics.
Right.
It's all a game, man. It's all a game. It's
well,
like,
I mean,
what was that game they had where you had an alternate reality, Second Life, something like that?
I don't remember. Let us know in the chat what you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is setting the stage for everything I want to talk about tonight. This PhD, which I think stands for phony doctor, who says, from a cultural standpoint, there has been a very clear trend toward the gamification of social relations. It's all a game. Now, when I was a kid, we just called it being cool.
Right.
You tried to be cool, man. And that's how you got people to like you. That's how you got in with the right in-groups and had lots of friends and eventually used that to climb your way up whatever ladder of whatever company or corporation you worked at. This is nothing new.
Right.
And it's always been just kind of a bit of hooey on top of
Well, I mean,
the real stuff, the substance, the good stuff,
Yeah.
the actual friendships and relationships and families and communication and reaching out and engaging and all that great stuff. Oh, yeah, man, it's gamified.
I mean, that just means social metaphysics is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's Peter Keating climbing, all the ladders and, getting, what was his name? Timothy or Terry or whatever his name was to basically quit so that he could spend more time with his fiancée. And then he ended up fired and Keating ended up getting his job. It's a game. You could call that a game, but
Right.
but I don't know. I don't mind the idea or the concept of gamification if actually used in a way that is relevant, maybe in marketing, maybe in something along those lines.
Right. Hasn't it always been the case that there are some people who are really superficial and care about the wrongs, irrelevant, not real, not substantive stuff? They're not based.
They're not based.
They're not reality based. So I'm thinking of the end of War Games when, Joshua says, "Greetings, Professor Falcon." "Hello, Josh." And he ends with, "A strange game. The only winning move is not to play. How about a nice game of chess?" Those of you who know the movie will know that line. And the answer to me isn't, well, get off of all the social networks. That's not the answer. Get off of X, get off of Facebook. Or go to some really fringe group like Truth Social or something. No, the answer is don't play their game. But the way to don't play their game is to make up your own rules. Just don't follow their rules. And the rules of Facebook, by the way, are fine. What I mean are the rules people have set up in response to it. Don't play the game. Use Facebook in earnest. Use X in earnest. Use stuff to actually engage with real people in real ways that have nothing to do with whatever, spikes your, I was going to say endorphins, but they have a different hormone.
Oh, serotonin.
Serotonin, whatever spikes your serotonin.
Or
dopamine, or whatever hormone you want to, in your deterministic fashion, say keeps you scrolling on your phone and you just can't break away because you're waiting for that next little smile, that next little bump. No, don't play the game their way. And don't play it the way that Pablo Boxkowski at Northwestern thinks it's being played. Play it in a way that is in your rational self-interest. That's what I have to say about that.
Well,
so happy birthday, Facebook. Happy 20. I can't believe it's been 20 years. Happy 20th birthday, Facebook.
I mean, so Robert and I went to the bookstore earlier today, and we have a copy of Atomic Habits. And I just, I haven't really actually read it yet. I have to admit.
Oh, you don't need to read it. All you need to do is watch my episode of Life on Earth, in which I discuss James Clear and his book Atomic Habits.
Yeah, so I got enough from Robert and everything, but I was actually, in the bookstore, having a latte and just kind of breezing through the book and everything, and there were a lot of good things in there, a lot of ways in which you could say, you can apply your concepts to all of these things, and you can actually apply your reasoning ability to ask yourself, why do you engage with Facebook and X and social media in general? What do you get out of it? What would you like to get out of it? There's a lot of wonderful values that I get out of it. And yeah, so some disvalues that I try to avoid. But other than that, it's perfectly fine.
It's all good, Mom. And I'll prove that. Jim Ashley, hello back at you. Yes, you can hold me to, Jim Ashley says. You say things are going to get better? I'm going to hold you to that. You absolutely can. Things are looking up in more ways than I can count, more ways than you can count. It's going to be, oh my God, the future is going to be amazing. Excuse me. But just to respond to a few comments here, because somebody's, let's see, Race says, does anybody remember being tagged? I remember being poked.
Yeah.
When was the last time you
Wave.
When was the last time you poked somebody on Facebook? The function is still there.
It is?
I think it's not considered polite anymore.
Right, it isn't.
But Facebook used to prompt me to poke random women. Troublemakers. And yes, Matthew Humphrey says, I appreciate there are many criticisms of Facebook, but I've made so many connections all over the world, Matthew, so have I. People I'd never come to know except through Facebook, absolutely. And the same can be true of X, and I'm kind of recent to Twitter, actually. Never used it much except for the last 2 years. Whatever. Whichever of the platforms you choose to use it in the way that fosters use it rationally. Drive rationally. Absolutely. Oh, Daniel says, yeah, Second Life, that's right. I never played it either, but I remember it was going to be the thing. Second Life was an online virtual reality. You create a life there. I think nowadays what's that farm game that our friends play? Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is now Second Life. That's where people live their alternate reality. And, 10 years from now, it'll be something else, and more power to them. I love all of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I have to say about anything that is virtual reality or augmented reality or, Sims or that kind of virtual reality sort of thing, and that where you're kind of in a game for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and you're not actually engaging with the real world. That, and just like television, for instance, that's a bit, that can be a red flag that you may have an issue that you need to work on in your life. Yeah, and we were just talking about, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but since the pandemic, I think a lot of people's self-esteem has taken a hit, and that's shown in a lot of ways, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, well, again, you've got to do these things, social media and any kind of online interactions, rationally. You've got to do it in a way that supports your own values and your own mental health. Ray says, serotonin and her dope memes. I'm not really into memes. I mean, they come up in my feed, and occasionally they're brilliant. They're very funny. But for the same reason that I loathe and despise animated GIFs, or GIFs if you prefer, although people who say GIFs, is it giraffics? Well, anyway, the reason I don't care for them is because I actually like what people think. And every time I see a big picture, especially something animated that's flashing and it's all over the screen, that it just takes away from the words, the actual words that people write.
I can see that. I mean, I very selectively use animated GIFs. I think they're very, very nice in a lot of ways. I'm probably not as annoyed by them as you are.
You don't hear very many conflicts between Amy Nasir and Robert Nasir, but this one could be the beginning of the end. Don't. So, yes, happy birthday, Facebook. If it's not of value to you, get off the damn platform. But if it is, celebrate it. Make it what you'd be amazed how much you can curate Facebook. I think even the advertisements, folks have been complaining, friends have been complaining lately. It seems like every other post they see is an ad. So I went on Facebook, where I do curate my ads and tell it things I don't want to see and the kinds of things I don't want to see and block things out. And I don't use any kind of ad blockers or anything. And on my Facebook feed on my computer, my preferred platform, I saw one friend's post and then one ad. And then 4 posts in an ad. And it continued like that. 4 posts in an ad, 4 posts in an ad, 4 posts in an ad. That's not bad. The ads are paying for the platform. All these monster computers out there bringing all of this good stuff to me. I'm good with that. So I went on my phone. I went on the iPhone and looked to see what's the difference there. Maybe that's where I'm seeing, friends are seeing a lot of ads. So I saw 1 post, 1 ad, 5 posts and then an ad. And then the strangest thing happened, and I was tempted to record it so people could see, but there's privacy concerns. I didn't see a single advertisement after that. And I counted up to 50 posts that were not ads. And it's the weirdest thing. So I don't know if you're seeing that many ads, but you can even curate that, and forget the ads part. You can curate your feed, make sure you're only seeing stuff that is good, that is positive, that makes your life better. Anyway, enough of that. Facebook rocks. Even when it doesn't, the price is right. Happy birthday, Facebook. Well, happy birthday, Rosa Parks.
Yes.
Now, the great Scott Halloran, writer of all things Hollywood and life in general, shared a picture that he took at the Henry Ford. The Henry Ford
right.
Museum of American Innovation. In the museum, which we talked about before, in Dearborn, Michigan, I mentioned Dearborn, Michigan, and people immediately say, oh, Dearbornistan, the Arab enclave of the United States. Apparently we have more Arabic people here in Michigan than anywhere else in the world, and Dearborn's where the majority are. But no, the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation is in Dearborn, Michigan, which is a beautiful city. It's nothing like these doomsayers imagine. And in the museum is not just a tribute to Rosa Parks, who once sat on a bus and during a busy time in the afternoon was told, get off your seat in the black rows. This is a black woman. Get off your seat, which is already in the black rows, because the white people section is full and there's a white guy here who wants to sit down.
Yeah.
I shouldn't laugh. It's absurd, and that's why I laugh, but it's not funny. But this is Rosa Parks' birthday. Now, she's not with us anymore, but she lived a long time. She just passed away in 2005. She lived to be 92. In fact, she passed away and is buried here in Motown, here in Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah, Woodlawn Cemetery, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And back in 1992, she visited Greenfield Village, which is part of the Henry Ford Museum. And she actually visited, with a group of students, and the students really loved her, and she went to basically a home. We have a 1930s Georgian sort of sharecroppers home called the Maddox home, and it's a great little house. It's a wonderful thing. So she went in there and she got her picture taken in it, and fortunately she passed away, obviously, before her 100th birthday, but at the Henry Ford Museum, we commemorated her 100th birthday in 2013 on February 4th as called a Day of Courage, and we had dignitaries and whatever politicians who want to shake hands and all that. But it commemorated her life on her birthday, and the fact that we have the Rosa Parks bus in the museum in our Liberty for with Justice for All exhibit. So if you ever want to actually go inside the Rosa Parks bus and sit in the same place that she was sitting in, she decided not to get up from, you can do that at the Henry Ford.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
If you're in town, let us know. Amy can actually probably get you into the museum for free. But even if not, it is a place worth going, whatever it costs you to get in. So happy birthday to the late Rosa Parks. Now, a couple more birthdays to people who are still with us. Vincent Damon Furnier turns 76 today. Of course, most of us know him better as Alice Cooper.
Yes.
Alice Cooper wasn't originally a guy. It was the name of the band, but he took on that name as the front man. And Vincent Furnier is 76 years old today. Happy birthday. Born in Detroit, born here. See, we got a lot of Motown connections today.
Yes.
So, yes, a happy birthday to him. My favorite Alice Cooper songs, Hello, Hooray, and Elected. Now, if those seem quirky and you're like, oh, what about, I'm 18, the classic, School's Out. I like all the rock songs, the popular songs, the quirky stuff like Clones from the 80s, but Hello, Hooray, and Elected are enormously celebratory. And I just love them. So if you know who Alice Cooper is, if you're an Alice Cooper fan, let me know what songs come to mind. Apollo Zeus mentions Poison, which is a cool rock song from Alice Cooper. And Christopher Smith, the guitarist, Welcome to My Nightmare. That's a fun one, although we do it at karaoke, and there's a long, not just instrumental, but kind of drawn-out section in the middle. It's good if you're doing it around Halloween time. And that's all I'll say about that. So happy birthday, 76 years old, still with us, Alice Cooper. One more musician, because it is Natalie Imbruglia's birthday. Not pronounced Imbruglia, the G is silent, but Natalie Jane Imbruglia is 49 years old today, and just because I love the song Torn, we'll wish her a happy birthday too. She's actually an Aussie, born in New South Wales, Australia, which I would not have guessed until looking into. And that's it. That's it for this day, this fine February 4th. What are we listening to this week? What are we going to do under Shameless Self-Promotion? Well, on the self-promotion side of it, I've only got one item. Did a video with the Ayn Rand Center UK, one of our live reality show panel shows, on the subject, supporting Israel can get you killed. discussion about a UK story, an MP, a member of parliament, who is quitting his job because he supports Israel and has been getting threats, more than death threats. His office was firebombed. It's strange, too, because the news is hesitant to report it. They always put the word arson in quotation marks. There are photographs of his office being bombed out. I don't understand the quotation marks behind arson. And it's known to be initiated by the guy who killed a prior MP, so these are not idle threats.
Right.
And this MP, this member of parliament, he's quitting because he's worried about his family. He's got young children and a husband. Now, I'm old enough. I was born, in the 60s, a hippy-dippy area, but I'm old enough that when I see a story about a man and then they mention his husband, I do a double take. Oh, wait. Yeah, gay marriage. Cool, he's got a husband. He has 2 guys. You would think, okay, well, that's another reason why he's targeted by certain Islamists, and they're very explicit about it. They say terrible things about the fact that he's homosexual. But you would think our friends on the left would have a little more sympathy for this guy. But apparently in the intersectionality listings of what's important and what's not, the fact that he's a gay man trying to live with a healthy gay family is less important than the fact that he supports Israel.
My first response to this was, of course, if he was in America and he was a congressman who was elected to Congress, he would have security.
That's true.
He would have a security detail. They may move his family out somewhere and protect them. Whatever it may take, they would keep him in office, and he would probably have an incentive to stay in office. And the second thought I thought was, if this guy is in the UK, you've got the royalty in the United Kingdom. And I mean, they have tons of security detail. I'm not entirely sure what the situation is. Maybe somebody in the chat can let me know. But why was this MP not offered a kind of security detail that the royals say would have, that would actually keep him and his family safe? Is it because they're on an island and they really can't be moved that far? I'm not entirely sure. But and then another thought I had was, you're invalidating this man's office. You're invalidating the votes that put him into that position. I think that's another reason why in the United States we really focus on that the people elect the officials, and their votes shall not be invalidated. And that person is not going to be forced out of the office because he's getting death threats. So,
see, I didn't even think of that, but you're right. It's like vote nullification.
Right.
If you let that happen, and you're right. They asked me on the show, what do you think about this in the United States? I said, this would never happen in the United States. It would be inconceivable in the United States because the government would just spend whatever money was necessary to give this guy some security.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that. The king, I was going to say the queen. They don't have a queen anymore. It's so sad.
I know.
Well, I guess Camilla's the queen now. But King Charles certainly doesn't have to worry about security. I suspect, even when nobody's at Windsor Castle, the security there is amazing. When we were there, anyway, you get the idea. An outrage. Link to that show, that episode is in the show notes, in the YouTube description, and also on Facebook. It's already been posted both places there. What else are we watching this week?
Oh, I always like to hear the conversations between Glenn Lowry and John McWhorter on the Glenn Show, and and they're also in the Free Black Thought news aggregate webpage, so that's always nice. Yeah.
Christopher Smith says, "Who was the first president of the United States of America?" Trick question, so I'm not going to answer it. I don't know about that one. Whereas Race is giving me a compliment.
How is that not? What kind of question is that?
That's what I'm wondering.
It sounds like a trick question because it sounds so easy.
Maybe because we mentioned King Charles. The great thing about the first president of the United States is that he was the first president, which means there was no precedent. There was no president before. And, the Constitution was written saying we're going to have a president. But no, people actually wanted him the general of the army who won the War of 1776, the Independence War, War of Independence of the United States. No, I haven't said his name yet. But they wanted him to be king.
Yeah.
And he didn't even want to be president. Well, he was willing to be president. He knew the nation needed a leader at that time.
Yeah. But there was no precedent for a president.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that was a wonderful stories about George Washington.
George Washington. I mean, his name was George. It would have just been an easy King George. Just slide right in there. But no, he said, no, we will have no kings here in the United States of America. And George Washington was, in fact, the first president of the United States.
Yeah, he even had the same name as George Washington Carver.
Well,
Wonderful
I think
coincidence.
George Washington Carver had the same name as George Washington. But speaking of great black Americans, folks, it is Black History Month. Now, you know, I'm not much for any month being associated with a given race. But I do think good things can be done with this month to celebrate the achievements of people who faced enormous oppression.
So let me tell you this. There's a really excellent speech on by Dr. Andrew Bernstein on YouTube, and something along the lines of great Black Americans and entrepreneurs, or something along those lines.
Look up Black entrepreneurs, Andrew Bernstein, you'll find it.
Elijah McCoy and Madam C.J. Walker and a number of other people. George Washington Carver, of course, and he talks. He really brings home the fact that because of Jim Crow and because of the racism in America, specifically the kind of racism that would nullify a Black American's individual rights as a human being, that really, if you look at it a certain way, Black Americans have not really experienced their individual rights being protected until more recently, much more recently than white Americans, and I just thought that was such an interesting point.
Yes.
And I mean that certainly should be taken into consideration and everything.
It is enormously important. It's a mistake that I see in certain communities, including one that starts with a capital O, that some people don't want to acknowledge that some people have had it harder than others.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that has, in some cases, followed racial lines.
Right.
I know people who say, well, if somebody graduates from college, for example, and he came from a rich family, and some other guy graduates from college and he was very, very poor and had to work his way through, well, we shouldn't celebrate that achievement more. Which to me is absolutely irrational and borderline insane. So, yes, I have great admiration for people who not only survived, not just racism, but go back far enough in actual slavery.
Right.
And made something of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same context to, say, Amelia Earhart and her flying expeditions. Just among other great women who really rose to the challenge and did what they wanted to do in life, and it took a lot of courage.
Now I know that we work really hard because we're all fighting woke, and we're all fighting anti-racism, which is actually just racism. So I get it. I get that the culture war seems like it's a hard time to say. Well, yeah, but women and Black Americans had a hard time.
Yeah, I'll say there's two things. Well, there's many things I don't like about today's what I would call third wave anti-racism.
Yes.
Which is the first wave being the abolitionist movement. Second is the civil rights. Third now is kind of becoming it's been warped by cultural Marxism, and just as third wave feminism had. So yeah, you've got to parse things out, and you have to be very clear about your definitions with regard to these concepts.
Yes. Well, I did a review of Ibram X. Kendi's book, Anti-Racism, and made the point that whatever good you can find in reading that book, it's a terrible book. It's absolutely the worst thing you could do if you really want to fight racism. His conclusions include the only way you're ever going to get rid of racism is to get rid of capitalism.
Right.
So you're right. Third wave anti-racism, just like third wave feminism, is is a contradiction.
Yeah, it's a contradiction to say the only way that you can help a race or a culture or a group of people rise up is by treating them like they're infants, or infantilizing them, coddling them. Let's lower all the standards because you can't handle this. No.
Yeah. Christopher Smith has got a theme going on here because he says, what was JFK Jr.'s magazine called? And, he actually named it after the first president of the United States. He called it George.
Right.
As if JFK Jr. would have any right in any way to hang on the coattails of that great man. So, I don't know. I think he's just trying to get us fired up.
Oh.
I don't know.
I mean, he was the gentleman who, I believe he perished in a plane crash.
JFK Jr.?
Yeah, or no?
No, he's still with us.
Who am I thinking of?
I don't know.
FK Jr. Yeah.
Yeah, look for Kennedy plane crash.
This is 1999. John F. Kennedy Jr. died when the light aircraft he was flying crashed into the Atlantic Ocean off of Martha's Vineyard. So who are we talking about?
No, you're right. You're right, because, I'm thinking of RFK.
Oh, RFK.
RFK Jr. You're right. You're right. Absolutely right.
Okay.
Thank you for straightening me out on that important bit of information about the Kennedy family.
I'm here for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Now that's enough about the Democrats, because we got to talk about the Republicans. Because we got to talk about PsyOps. We got to talk about psychological operations in the United States. Now, some of you may have seen Yaron Brook's recent show, and this was great. Yaron Brook did a show with the title Taylor Swift Derangement Syndrome, TDS,
yeah.
Taylor Derangement Syndrome, and the Republican parties. Now, some of you will already know this, especially if you listen to that show. There are people who have come to the conclusion that the popularity of Taylor Swift, the popularity of Taylor Swift is artificial. She's being propped up by the government. Now, anybody who's followed her career for the last 10 years knows better than that, but okay. Not only is Taylor Swift's popularity propped up by the government, they are using her current romance in order to direct people away from the problems in the Democratic Party. They're publicizing, although they're keeping it a little on the down low, the fact that Taylor Swift has said she's going to vote for the Democrat, Papa Joe Biden, that strange old man. And they're even using the Super Bowl next week, the upcoming Super Bowl, and the fact that the cameras will clearly and obviously occasionally be panning to Taylor Swift watching her boyfriend play football as part of PsyOps. Psychological operations. Now, PsyOps is a real thing.
Yeah. Psychological
operations is a real thing. There's a whole Wikipedia article about it. You can read about PsyOps in the United States, documented ones. In other words, real ones. Actual Department of Defense psychological operations. In the old days, we called this propaganda.
Yeah.
Or even agitation propaganda, aka agitprop.
Mm-hmm.
But now, no, this is right before our very eyes.
Yeah. Coco here says, "I forgot my tinfoil hat."
Oh no, the ghost of Coco there, the spirit of Coco, lives on your shoulder apparently.
Yes, she does.
This was amazing to me. Now, again, what has this got to do with Republicans? Well, there is a Republican that I'm ready to come out for. No, not like that. I mean, I'm willing to come out in support of. And that is, I support Nikki Haley for president.
I think I supported her before you started supporting her.
Ooh. Late to the party.
Well, I've been receiving all of her crazy text messages every day.
Oh, really?
The ones that are extremely long.
She doesn't text me.
Well, you haven't given her $20.
Oh, you gave her money?
Yeah, I gave her money.
Oh, never give a politician even if you love the politician, never give a and the reason you never give a politician money is because if you send $20 to Nikki Haley,
This is
her support organizations will then spend far more than $20 mailing you more junk mail to get you to send her more money. And I mean, unless you're all in and you're ready to send somebody $100,000 every month or two.
It's for my best friend Nikki.
Oh my God. I cannot tell you how glad I am that I am not on her spam list.
I don't know. I don't mind it. I like to see people's texts.
Oh,
I'm on various text lists because I run our SMS program at where I work. So, yeah.
Well, that's true. And you appreciate
I
advertising,
really do.
and when advertising is done well. And,
I love advertising.
Yeah.
And so, all the marketing. Love it.
So, I have been asked now, as a pro-capitalist, objectivist, how can you support Nikki Haley? Is she? I was asked this literally. Is she for laissez-faire capitalism? I guess I should have supported that politician who's for laissez-faire capitalism. Let me know who that is. The most absurd charge that I have seen about Nikki Haley is that she's a rhino. She's a Republican in name only. We were at the zoo yesterday looking for the rhinoceroses. I want to hear about these rhinos everybody keeps talking about. But no, she's a Republican in name only. Meaning that she's supported things that are anti-Republican, and she's got her fingers in all the dirty politics, the support from different organizations that aren't really Republican, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I want you to tell me in the chat, if you can think of anybody, maybe you think Nikki Haley, if you can think of anybody anywhere on the political scene, presumably, associated with the right, with the Republicans, who is more a Republican in name only than the other candidate on the Republican side? Who is less of a Republican than our 45th president?
Well, I mean, I'm very appreciative and grateful that Nikki Haley is still in the running and she's staying in. Because, again, it's a great reminder of the fact that the Republican Party once stood for actual ideas, especially during the Tea Party campaigns and everything. Campaign for Liberty, you remember that? You remember Ron Paul and
Ron Paul.
Well,
I remember him in the living room telling us what he was for, and he was fine until he wasn't.
Well, I think was that Rand Paul or Ron Paul in the living room?
Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of Gary Johnson.
You're thinking of Gary Johnson.
Yeah, the Paul twins. Well, the father and son. You're right. That's a different. That's a different enema altogether.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I really like the fact that Nikki is staying in and she's actually reminding people that there are issues out there. Matthew, in the chat on YouTube mentioned, he's worried about her position on abortion.
Me too.
I have heard some rumblings from her that sounds almost as if she is a bit more nuanced with regard to the issue.
Oh, much more.
And
she doesn't want to outlaw it altogether.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for that. But also, you do have the other. We've got our judicial and congressional systems legislature that will hopefully push anything like that back that she would want to enact. But honestly, I don't know. If she were actually in office, I'm not entirely sure if she would bother with that issue. At least I hope not. But yeah, I mean, if she would ever become president of the United States, who knows? She was on SNL.
Oh my gosh.
What?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to change the subject, but
yeah, we're having a hard time keeping up with the posts.
The chats are great. The comments are all great. But Jim Ashley, our resident movie expert, is mentioning that TCM, Turner Classic Movies, is showing, in honor of Black History Month, In the Heat of the Night. Great film. But he mentions a bunch of other Sidney Poitier films he hasn't seen yet. And Guess Who's Coming to Dinner is on that list. How can you possibly not have seen Guess Who's Coming to Dinner?
Right.
I mean, it's Tracy and Hepburn. It's amazing. But anyway, Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? You've got to see that film. Oh my gosh, it's so I mean, it's fun, but it's a great film. Great stuff. But long comment, read that from GM Ashley, because everything you want to know about movies, well, not everything, but we will read that later and look at films we haven't seen yet. So, yeah, people said, why do you support Nikki Haley? She's not a laissez-faire capitalist. And the answer is, because if that was the criterion, I couldn't support anybody. I couldn't vote. And believe me, I have sat out many votes or voted right in Ayn Rand or George Washington, which I have written in before, and Thomas Jefferson, I think. But yes, I totally get people who say, yeah, Nikki Haley, she's not ideal. You're right, she's not. She's in a lot of ways not ideal. I can also list 10 ways in which she's just great. And she would be... See, it seems silly to compare her to Joe Biden or Donald Trump, either of those old men, because she's so much better than either one of those people. But anyway, my point was, Rhino?
Right, I know.
Republican in name only. If she's establishment, then she is Republican.
I don't know if you want to circle back to Taylor Swift.
Yes, absolutely.
And now, we listened to Yaron Brook talking about this, and he's like, I can't believe I'm talking about
cool.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift as PsyOps.
PsyOps. Well, I mean, first of all, my first take on that was, the people who are running the game shows at Fox News, they're looking for clickbait. And but the thing, I mean, it's just another example of Republicans trying to look for something to distract themselves and rationalize their way out of all the problems they've caused for themselves. I mean, they're just trying to look for ways to deflect, ways to get people to not notice how inept, how incompetent, how silly they've become as a political party. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I've tried not to be insulting to 45, but
I don't not try to.
But Linda Cordier in the chat says, let's remember to eat our vegetables this year and not elect them. I have nothing against the elderly. My own dear mother's in her 80s, and I would vote for her for president in a heartbeat.
Yes.
But Joe Biden and Donald Trump, these men do not have their faculties together. I don't know if they ever did, but they definitely don't this year.
No.
I can't imagine voting for either of these people.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
So yes. I've talked about Taylor Swift before because I'm not a big fan. I know a few of her songs, but we did go see her concert film just to see, is this really as great as it seems like, people are making it out to be? The answer was... Yes, it
absolutely.
really was.
Absolutely. Drop everything.
Even if you're not a Taylor Swift fan.
And go to and put it on your screen and, make an evening of it. You're going to need an intermission because it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes long, but it's so worth it. I was thinking about this again and I thought how uplifting Taylor Swift is as a performer to her audience. And you'll see this in the Era's film, that she really puts her personality out there in a way that, thousands upon thousands of people in an arena can actually relate to, which is really amazing. And she not just entertains, but she uplifts. And she, it's a cliche phrase. And I don't know if I'm paraphrasing here, but it is somewhat relevant, the idea of women supporting other women lifting each other up. And I'm very grateful that, that is actually a part of the culture that has changed for the better. I remember in the days, when women were catty because they felt that they were competing for the attentions of men, and that only the attentions of men would actually get them anywhere in life, not on their own merit. It was real. So yeah. So
let me stop just for a second to... Sorry, the chat just gets me going. Let me stop just for a second, because in the chat, I need to take a poll. And the poll is...
Should I create a poll? Or I don't know if
Can we create polls?
Actually, maybe
I don't know.
only I think if we...
Do we need 1,000 subscribers to create polls?
I think so.
Folks, share this show. We need 1,000 subscribers, and we're only sitting at 347. 340, we get...
Oh, make sure you like the show.
Yeah, like it,
Go ahead and click
share
that
it.
little button thing,
Get our
please.
subscriber counts up, because I want to do things like... Well, anyway, point is, give me... Christopher Smith says, I am the Pole. Are you saying your opinions, or are you Polish? I don't know. Anyway, that's one thing we don't have anymore is Polish jokes. We're so politically correct now. But no, in the poll, tell me, next week. Next week? Yeah, next week. Next Sunday. Super Bowl Sunday, in other words. Taylor Swift Sunday.
Yes.
I mean, I know Usher is going to be the halftime show, but really, Taylor Swift's going to be there anyway. She totally should have done that.
I know, she should.
How awesome would that have been?
That would have been so great.
If Usher is smart, he'll invite her down to do a duet with him. Just one song, and then she can go back to her box seat.
You know, instead of that creep Kanye West taking the microphone from Taylor Swift on the stage of the Oscars, I think it was.
What a dope.
Or the Grammys. You know, Usher should be handing her the microphone in kind of a nice gesture.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Wouldn't that be wholesome? That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Coco
I think it's
keeps
exactly the right thing to do. So, real quick, answer me this. Next week, Super Bowl Sunday, just like last week when the Detroit Lions played the 49ers, they started...
And almost won!
Oh, man, that is a heartbreaking game if you're in Motown.
They did a good job.
They did a
should
great
have
job.
all had nice little ribbons.
You see, one of the things I like to see, and I don't watch a lot of football. I usually only ever see the Super Bowl. But one of the things I like to see in football is when a QB, when a team, a coach in this case, will take chances. I always think it's kind of cowardly that on the fourth down, they never run a play. They always play it safe. They didn't play it safe, and it cost them the game. But they didn't play it safe. I get a kick out of that. Okay, poll, question. Sorry about that. Next week, the game also starts at 6:30 p.m. Question for you. Those of you who enjoy watching these shows live, and we appreciate it because, again, the chat is half the fun of doing this show. Should we do like we did last time, just do the show at the usual time and kind of bulldoze our way right through the first half hour or so of the game? Or should we just plan to do a short show and no matter what happens, wrap up by 6:30 so y'all can click over and watch the game? And we can too. Or should we do the show early? I think, Amy, you suggested, well, we could start at 5:30.
Yeah, we could start at 5:30.
Then if we run our usual amount of time, which seems to always run a little more than 5 minutes, then we could... So, we do a 5:30 show, or even start earlier. Just start it at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Or, option number 5, if that wasn't enough options already, just cancel it and take the day off. So let me know in the chat if any of y'all good people, you beautiful people, let me know if you have an opinion on that, a suggestion on that, and we want to hear from you. And let me click over to see, Linda says she'll be at a Super Bowl party. The Super Bowl party is here. It's going to be online. Well, probably more fun if you have actual chips you can eat, but have a good time with that. So yeah, we got to decide what we'll do next week. We'll see how that goes. This whole idea of PsyOps, of psychological operations, I have some takeaways I want for you, and let me say for a minute here what those are. First of all, it's nothing new. A lot of the reasons people believe this stuff is because, we have engaged in PsyOps, in psychological operations, and we were covert. We didn't say up front, here's what we're trying to get people to understand, or here's what we're trying to get people to think. Propaganda is nothing new. Agitprop is nothing new. Heck, they used to try subliminal advertising. People are now very skeptical whether that actually ever did anything. It depends on what they did. The stuff that was really subliminal didn't work. The stuff that was subtle, not subliminal, just subtle. You know why you never hear about that anymore? Is because in marketing we have a tool called A/B testing. Thank you very much, marketing. Yes, we can now actually figure out if stuff works. Go figure. I remember I was in high school and my very silly and dumb and horrible and monstrous
humanities teacher.
This is the one who actually believed in that stuff, right?
Yeah, he was awful. Oh, he was awful.
I bet he's talking about PsyOps these days. Well, he's still
no,
alive.
he's not alive anymore. But
he's metaphysically challenged.
So
okay.
yeah, he talked about Carl Jung's collective unconsciousness. He talked about an artist who painted things that when he was supposed to actually be sleeping or unconscious or whatever. And then he went into this whole thing about advertisement and the word sex. You could see that it was spelled out in some sort of like it was for a laundry detergent ad, and it was like a crinkly cloth backdrop, and if you connected the lines of the crinkles correctly, you could just spell out anything.
That's true too.
It was I hated that man. He was so anti-reason, and I purposely failed that class.
Yeah.
I decided I would get an E. And I wouldn't do my work. I would show up to class just for giggles. But no, I failed that class.
Yes. Well,
On
you
purpose.
failed it righteously.
I did.
Yes. So my advice in this regard, when you come across these crazies, first of all, realize there's always been crazies. Right now, the Republican Party is kind of being led by crazies, but most of their rank and file aren't. They're just people who, we've been saying for years, we need an alternative to the left and the right. And unfortunately, on the right, they've chosen I shouldn't say the alternative, but an alternative. One of the complaints about Nikki Haley is that she's establishment. And in a certain way, she is, in that she's just a reasonable, decent Republican.
Yep.
People have been saying for ages, we need somebody who's an outsider, who's independent, who doesn't think like a politician. Well, God knows we got that. So when you come across these claims of PsyOps and agitprop and poisoning the well, realize that none of this is new. And think firsthand. In fact, my Post-it note for the week, here you go, says think twice. And what I mean by think twice is literally, whatever you think, be willing to think a little.
Yeah.
No, I already know the answer. I don't need to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
No matter what I know, if I think twice about it, if I put a little more effort into it, I find there's more to do. There's more I can stretch. There's more insights. There's more there than meets the eye. It's not always true. Some answers are simple and clear, and no matter how much you think about it, nothing's going to change. But when it comes to things like claims of PsyOps,
Right.
think twice, or this one goes out to my Republican friends, or at least once. So,
Well, you know what? Don't just think. Can I add? Oh, go ahead. Or at least once.
yeah,
Yes.
think twice, or at least
I'm
once.
going to encourage people not just to think, but to act, to go out into the world and take action, and to realize that you can actually, make things happen. You can actually move that goalpost.
Yeah, that may be the theme of our show next week, because you had a great interaction about that.
Well, it was what we covered in our last show last Sunday. It was the one lady I was conversing with on Facebook with regard to their kind of a person's redefinition of what woke is. And basically their definition was be courteous to other people and enjoy your life. I mean, it was very banal and it was not accurate. So I pointed out that no, actually what's happening with this is that fundamentally people are just looking for ways in which to morally condemn others as an alternative for their own action, for their lack of action and their lack of feeling efficacious in their own life. And ever since and I think that the pandemic and the shutdowns and shut-ins and all of that stopping of the world during the pandemic really, really bolstered that psychological, or that it was a perfect storm for making it so that people stopped gaining self-worth and stopped interacting with the world and stopped interacting with other people. And that really, basically, I think a lot of people started to really believe that they couldn't actually do anything. So what did they do? They go out in the street with their masks on or whatever and start yelling and yelling and yelling, latching on to causes that they don't even know what they're doing, what is global Antifa, or not, sorry, global intifada, I'm sorry. Global, what is that? People going into the streets yelling things like they're just meaningless sounds.
Which river and which sea?
Yeah, which river?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just here with my friend, and they seem morally righteous,
right.
And I'm here to morally condemn people because I have nothing better to do, I suppose. But
yeah,
it's this culture. It's a blip in the culture of humanity in the United States of America, where people have no idea and no incentive to actually go out and make sure that they check their facts before they say what they're going to say, or whatever
right.
side they choose.
And again, I think we could do a whole show on that. It's maybe kind of the flip side of what we're talking about today, but it is important.
Yeah, it is important.
But for this week, what I want to do is I want to advise you, just like somehow I've managed to make Facebook, happy birthday Facebook, a better experience than what a lot of my friends seem to be seeing. Just like my perspective on politics is, well, it's not the way I want it to be. And what I want is not one of the choices. But here's what I can do. Just like I can enjoy Taylor Swift, even though her music isn't my favorite kind of music. I can admire her achievement and not question, how is it that she's becoming a billionaire doing concerts? Well, I can look at the concerts and say, oh, wow, yeah, that would do it. I want each and every one of you, just like we do ourselves, at least try to remember to do, to curate your inputs. Curate your input. The stuff you've got coming in, make sure you are deciding what you are eating intellectually, that you're on a good diet, healthy stuff, stuff you love, stuff you enjoy. Curate your inputs. Manage your state. You decide in any given moment what it is that you are taking in and putting out. And know your purpose in any given moment, even if it's just browsing Facebook, even if it's just doing the socials. Are you there to connect? Are you there to be amused? Are you wanting to put something out there? Are you taking something in? Be in focus, be aware, be conscious, be purposeful, and you will not be susceptible to agitprop. You will not be susceptible to PsyOps. And when people make claims that that's what's going on out there, you will be able to look and see, oh, wait, no, that's a ridiculous exaggeration. Or occasionally you'll be able to say, wow, they really are doing something bad there, something wrong there. Even then, it's rarely a mastermind behind the scenes, a Wizard of Oz behind the curtain pulling the cords. It's usually just, oh, they're doing that because that's what these people believe. And they're wrong. It's not really a PsyOp. It's not really agitprop. It's just people believe these things, and it causes them to do these things and say these things and work for these causes, and they're wrong. Occasionally, although rarely, they're evil. But there's nothing mysterious about it. And that is empowering. That puts you in the driver's seat, which is exactly where you should be. So, folks, thanks for joining us. I see the spirit of Coco says, thank you for joining us.
Coco says, I am not a PsyOp.
That's right.
Somebody called her a PsyOp.
No, you are not. Coco is not a PsyOp. Almost nothing is. I've even linked to Wikipedia's article on PsyOps, which makes a great read. And you can look up, what were real PsyOps and what were real conspiracies, because they were out there. In some cases, I'm sure they are still out there. And it ain't the kind of stuff that are crazies, even on Fox News. Listen to that Yaron Brook episode. Even on Fox News, you would think they would be a little more mainstream, but no, the crazy stuff. Well,
yeah,
people are people.
Well, people are on their own journey.
People are they're each on their own journey. Folks, thanks for joining us. We're glad you're here. Glad you were in the chat. Appreciate your comments. Find us on the socials. Engage with us online. You can find us each by our real names, facebook.com/Robert Nasir, facebook.com/Amy Nasir, on the socials, because we got nothing to hide and everything to share with you good people. If you have any ideas for future episodes, including next week, let us know.
Yes.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Quick birthday announcement coming up. Happy early birthday to Linda Cordair of Cordair.com.
Oh, is Linda's birthday coming up?
Yes.
Go to Cordair.com, buy some art. That would be the best birthday present you could give her, unless you got something really nice you want to give her. But yeah, CORDAIR.com.
And also Alex on the chat. You'll know what I'm talking about. I won't say the handle, but Alex's birthday is coming up. Hopefully maybe you can have like a Yorkshire pudding and you can put a candle in it. I don't know if you do that in the UK, but I think I would do that.
Amy would do that. You would do that. All right. Real quick, huge shout out to all of our patrons. Thank you. If you're not a patron but you'd like to be, contribute to the show, help keep the lights on, patreon.com/Robert Nasir, or just find the links to all that stuff at robertnasir.com. And with that said, that's it. We wish you a great rest of your day, evening / week / year. Make this your best year yet. We wish you all the happiness that you so richly deserve, and we know that you do. And that's why, as always, we also, and in ways that are real big with Valentine's Day coming up, we wish you love.
Mwah.